Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 3rd of April for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you some standout details that we can all collectively relate to, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep into each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces. If you're a returning visitor, thank you so much for joining me once more. If you're new here, it's great to have you with us, and I'd be honoured if you'd subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. This is very much a community, so please share any thoughts you have. I do interact with each one. So as we come into this new week, Mercury, the planet of communication, which rules the sign of Gemini, but also the sign of Virgo, where its influence is much more to do with precision. Its move into Taurus is asking us to grapple with the foundations in our lives, especially the ones to do with everyday finance, I feel. But the second house energy of Taurus is also about how we feel about ourselves, our self-worth and our values. But it's clashing with the mighty but tiny Pluto almost straight away. So Monday through to Wednesday could see some tensions around a group situation or around a closer relationship where our values may not align quite as closely with somebody else, perhaps as much as we thought they had done, or any differences that have been there can come to the surface, can be revealed. Pluto often keeps things out of sight, so there could be some revelations in this early part of the week. But there's also, from Tuesday to Saturday, Mercury actually forges a very constructive link to Saturn. So if we can tap in to past experiences, knowledge and instincts, our instincts, in a positive way, that can help us to make the most of our resources. Also, Saturn is linking brilliantly this week to Mars, with both Mars in Cancer and Saturn in Pisces, two water signs. I think the provocative energy of Mars, it's not at its best in Cancer, of course, it's in a full. I think that's saying, look, it's okay to grapple with emotions and perhaps even be a little bit more vulnerable. So we could see some people opening up about their core values or opening up about their feelings. Also, from Wednesday to Sunday, a glorious link between Venus and Neptune is really quite idealistic. So if there's someone coming through in our situation who we really do admire and has the kind of qualities that we can really respect, this could be something that gives us a lot of uplift. The key to that particular aspect is not to have unrealistic expectations. But of course, relationships really come sharply into focus on the back of the full moon. For most people, this is going to occur on Thursday. For those people who live on the west coast of America, it is on Wednesday. But Chiron, the wounded healer, is very close to the Sun, as is Jupiter. And I feel that there is an opportunity here for all of us to think again about the connections we have, to not necessarily just view things in binary terms of they're with us, they're not with us. Life has become so polarized. If you can see the nuances in situations and the experience of our journey through this existence that are really quite mutual, that's going to be something we can gain from this. But with Uranus forging a quincunx to the moon position, it could be that in some situations, differences over money or how it's spent or those values could be the part of the relationship which really does need some attention. Now, as this week draws to a close, Venus is forging a wonderful angle to Pluto. This really can help us to appreciate the very special alliances we have in our lives. And also a little bit of fortune is starting to bubble up, potentially, as the week draws to a close, as the Sun is approaching Jupiter in Aries. They're actually going to meet up in person, so to speak, next Tuesday. that will be when the aspect becomes exact. But this is one of the most fortifying of all planetary aspects in astrology. So if energy has been a little bit low, physical vitality, there's a lot of things that we're absorbing these days that can make us feel a little bit depleted. So I feel that there's an opportunity to feel a sense of uplift. But overall, this is a week which is asking us to engage with feelings and also the reality of our everyday resources and our need for security, and just feed that into how we're thinking about our need to get our own way, very Aries energy, against how we need to collaborate and connect to others, that Libran full moon. Please stay with me now as I dive deep with each of the 12 signs. But if you would like to ascend above this zodiac forecast, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can prepare for you your life roadmap report. This can help you to get a much more intimate understanding of the patterns that have played out in your existence so far. And also my special package of 30% off, you can order your 12-month personal forecast. Totally unique to you, just like your life roadmap report. And this can give searing insights of how to make the most of the upcoming months. If you don't know your time of birth, I have developed a new solar chart and forecast package which also has 30% off. Please see the link below for more information on both. So Virgo, your week commencing the 3rd of April forecast is going to be a little bit of a challenge, I feel, for you in terms of that part of your nature that likes to be very dutiful towards others. It really is a lovely facet that you possess in that regard. But your ruler Mercury moves on the 1st day of this week into a very dynamic but potentially even rebellious part of your situation, asking you to think more about the things that you'd like to enjoy rather than the things you might feel you should endure because that's the right thing to do. So there could be some kind of conflict across Monday through to Wednesday where you do feel a bit torn about doing your duty or enjoying a bit more free time. But Mercury actually goes on from Tuesday through to Saturday to forge the most powerfully constructive link to Saturn in your sector of relationships. If there's somebody that you see as an information source, it could be someone you have great respect for. It could be someone who has life knowledge. It could be a life coach. It could be a particular philosophy that engages you. I feel that you could connect to that in a very solid way this week. Also, if there is a relationship that you're enjoying, it could really get much more robust. You can start to really trust and depend on what each of you brings to the situation. Also, of course, Saturn continues to be trined by Mars, and Mars is in a very sociable but also a very prophetic part of your situation. It can help you to really plan future forwards in a very exciting way. But again, the way you go about this and the way you connect to others can be rooted in a real sense of reality, which is terrific. So a little bit of tension at the start of this week if you feel that you're always being the person that covers everyone else, and you could resist that a little bit, but actually there is the potential here for some really lovely developments around key relationships. Also from Wednesday through to Sunday, the link between Venus, also in the sign of Taurus, like Mercury and Uranus, with Neptune is quite magical. If you did meet someone romantically, where Saturn is really quite testing and makes or is encouraging you to set your boundaries or to be really sure about your relationships, that they are as committed and as secure as you need. I think the link between Venus and Neptune is much more spiritual, much more uplifting. But what about that full moon? Well, it's all about the money, because the full moon itself is in your sector of everyday resources, but the position of Chiron, the Sun and Jupiter in your 8th house of how you connect to others. But the wrecking ball, if you like, is the fact that Uranus in your ninth house of rebellion and higher truths is in a quincunx with the moon. This is not a time to be too free and easy with resources. Now, you may be someone who's very grounded, uses your resources in a very steady and a very purposeful way. But if you do have the temptation to splash out on something, I would perhaps try to resist it. But one of the things the moon might be asking you to look at, which is non-financial, is your sense of self-worth. And one of the great things about this ninth house energy with Uranus, Venus, and also your ruler Mercury is it is about new knowledge. So perhaps you can reprogram your thinking in some ways. If there is part of you that tends to think that your talents do have limits, or you don't feel that you're valued by others as much as you could be, I thought the expansive energy of those three feeds in through Uranus to this full moon and says, look, you're as good as anybody. It doesn't necessarily influence where you are exactly at this moment. So if you don't have a job that you're enjoying, or your finances are very tight at the moment, as they are for a lot of people, don't necessarily let that affect your worth, because one of the great things about Virgos is not just the fact that you can be very methodical, show a great deal of precision. It is that you will try to help others and do jobs or provide roles and services that have great social worth. So bear that in mind if you are feeling through this full moon that maybe finances are a little bit tight, and maybe that could affect your morale, which is entirely understandable. But with the sun heading towards Jupiter as this week draws to a close, some kind of serendipity can emerge in your situation by the 11th in an exact way. But I feel that that can be a time when something to do with an employment issue could be very exciting for you. But Venus also forges a link to Pluto at the end of this week. Venus has been in the sign of Taurus, asking you to really be very clear about the truth of your closest associations. And I think it's linked with Pluto, just adds more grist to this. It helps you to get even more sense of where there is value. But I think with Saturn and Neptune forging such influential links this week, I think there can be some important conversations, some important connections. But I just feel that if you're somebody who does spend a lot of time, not necessarily people pleasing, but feeling that you have to go through a certain set of processes or adopt a certain role because that's the way it's always been, think outside of that, how you might challenge that. Because even if you don't change some big fundamentals, just imagining or reimagining how your life could be if you were a bit more daring could be an exciting thing in itself. And for some Virgos, I think there may be the push to actually break free from something that just isn't working for you any longer.